So, but I was just about to get into a little where we've been, where we're going. I went to Tacoma, Washington, and it was a lot of fun. I did the Tacoma Comedy Club, and apparently there's 2 Tacoma Comedy Clubs. There is, and they're about 3 miles from each other in the city, and they're both called Tacoma Comedy Club, owned by the same people. So I was headlining one of the clubs, and a former Atlanta comic, Catherine Blanford, who we both know, was headlining the other comedy club. And I guess she was just doing a Friday, Saturday show. I was doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Friday night, I come out of the green room, and she's standing there, and she's confused because her show started at 8, mine started at 7:30. She's there about 7:40, wondering why there's already a comic on stage. She was at the wrong club. But I had so much fun in Tacoma. When I got, I had a good time. I don't want to say so much fun. I enjoyed my feature. Georgia Comstock out of Denver, Colorado. I enjoyed the host, Matt Turkington. I'd have to look it up, and I don't.
Matty T,
yeah. I mean, they were just very nice, and it was just pleasant. I never worked with either of them, really. Georgia had featured for me at the Denver Comedy Works, but in Denver Comedy Works, what they have is a different feature for you every night. So you don't really work with people. They just come in, do their show, and leave. So you don't really work with them. Just very nice people, all a bit hippie-ish, and I could talk a lot about, food being poison and factory farming.
Raw milk.
Raw milk a little bit. Yeah, we did get into a little raw milk conversation.
Yeah.
But I was downtown Tacoma, and I walked down to this dispensary, and I walked by Washington State University. I don't know if that's what it was. It was W, and I don't know if it was the main campus, but I walked by, and I just want to say I saw those kids, and I do not feel good about the future. I'll tell you that. I mean, it did not look. It could have been drama class or art class that had let out, but it was. I was like, wow. This is now, and I grew up, and I've said this to Hannah already. I grew up next to Auburn University. I used to spend a lot of time there. And then I spent 10 years in Charleston, South Carolina with College of Charleston. And I'm just used to college campuses and I'm not trying to be sexist here. I'm just saying I'm used to college campuses just being full of attractive people in general. And that is not what I saw. And it is not just that bothers me, but it just seemed like a confused bunch of people, and it just doesn't look good because they're the ones in a few years that will be yelling at me that they're smarter than me because they have a diploma and I don't.
Well, what I hear is they're learning a lot in college.
Yes.
They're learning a lot.
Yeah, they are learning a lot. So I walked on down, and the further I got towards this dispensary, the sketchier it got. Few more homeless people here and there. Not too bad. Not like a tent city vibe that I've seen in a lot of cities, but just more abandoned buildings. And then I had to pass through an overpass on my way there, and there were just a bunch of people sitting up under the bridge. Not with tents, just sitting up there hanging out. And as I get to this dispensary, I realized that I had lost my driver's license the other day and that I didn't have it. So I have a passport with me that I use to travel. So I walk in, I ask this guy, seemed like a large Native American man, not heavy, but just a big, tall man. And I go, hey, I lost my ID, and I just want to see if a passport will work. And he goes, yeah, we'll take a passport. And I go, okay, great. So I Uber back because it was a 25-minute walk. And I chill out for a minute in the hotel, and then I get my passport, and I walk back down there. Because that was the point, was to make 2 trips walking. I wanted to do about 50 minutes of walking. So I walk back down there. It's shadier than it was the time before. There was a guy on the street corner making a gun symbol with his fingers, pointing at cars, shooting at them. and I had to stand next to that guy while the crosswalk changed. And I made it known that I was noticeably uncomfortable around this man, and that whenever he would move, I would also move so that I could keep eyes on him. And then I made it to the dispensary. I walk in, I show the passport to this tall Native American man, and he goes, "Oh, bro, we don't take passports." It's very straight face. And I go, "Come on, dude." And he then a big smile came across his face, and he was like, "I'm just messing with you." And we dapped it up, and then I went on in, and it was a good time.
He got you.
He did get me.
He got you good.
He did get me.
Yeah.
Because he was a very serious man. And it was fun. And then the next day, on Thursday, I forgot to mention, on Thursday, there was a lady and her husband. She came and she said, "We're big fans of the podcast." I think she's big fans of the Nateland podcast. People don't specify a lot of times. They say, "We're big fans of your podcast." And I never know what they mean. But turns out later she was a Nateland fan. And she said, "I own," and I had made fun of my clothes on stage that night. Because my shirt had shrank up a lot and my jeans were pretty new and big. They were a bit baggy. And I said that I looked like a triangle on stage because I was bigger at the legs than at the top.
What happens to you? What happens when you put your clothes in your suitcase that all of a sudden they come out not fitting right?
Well, it's the dryer where they shrink up.
Oh. Jeez, dude. So it comes back on the wife.
Well, I'm not saying it's you, but it's the dryer is where they shrink up.
Well,
because I wash them, dry them, and then put them in the suitcase. And then I show up to my show and I'm like, "Oh, this is getting small."
Yeah.
And I make a lot of jokes about my shirts being small.
yeah, you do. I actually never realized that it was my fault. But
I'm not saying it's your fault.
well, someone's got to look at that dang dryer.
Yeah. So, so the lady said, "I own a couple of boutiques in town, and we want to have you in there and give you some clothes." I said, "Okay, great." She said she had sent me a message on Instagram. So I dug around in there and I found the message. And then on Friday, I didn't respond to it. And then on later that day, she sent me a message and I said, "Well, I saw that it was only for, your invite was for Friday." And I said, "I'm probably not going to make it today." And she said, "Well, if you come tomorrow, we'll still do it." And I said, "Okay." So I decided to do it. And that on Friday, that's when I ran into Catherine, and then Georgia was with me, and then Matt too. So I invited them all to go down to this other side of Tacoma, which was Point Ruston is what they call it. I invited them all to go there. Matt said, "I have a friend in town. I'm not going to be able to come." So me and Catherine and Georgia got in an Uber, drove down there, and then we went to this boutique, and this lady let me put on a little bit of a fashion show. I walk into this dressing room. It has my name on it, and inside the room, they have several, and this place is called Purpose. They have Purpose. That's the name of their store. Purpose for males, Purpose for women. And they give a percentage of all their profits to a charity to help fight human trafficking. And I go in and there's just all these outfits. So I just start trying on outfits. And it's really fun. She said her whole goal is to bring customer service back, to make everybody's experience exciting. There were other men in there, not associated with me, trying on clothes. But all the people were just like, all the employees were just there cheering people on and saying, I don't know if I like these jeans. And they would get them a different pair. And it was just a shopping experience. And she gave me a couple of outfits. And then she took Georgia and Catherine and myself to the women's store and gave them both an item and then gave you an item.
I mean, you were just pampered.
Yeah.